There's a reason you're watching this right now. Maybe you can't explain it. Maybe you just stumbled across it while scrolling, looking for something to fill that empty place inside you. Maybe you don't believe in prophecy. Maybe you think all of this is some ancient mystery that has no meaning in the modern world. But listen to me. What if I told you the mark of the beast isn't just about some future implant, a microchip? What if I told you it's already here? Not just in the world, but in hearts, in minds, in choices. You see, the enemy doesn't need to brand your skin if he can enslave your soul. And that's exactly what's happening. The real mark, the hidden mark, is a life lived in rebellion, comfort, compromise. It's in that decision you make when you know what's right, and you choose wrong anyway. This message isn't just about revelation or time prophecy. It's about you, your soul, your calling, the fight for your future. This is about waking up before it's too late. Because the deception isn't coming. It's already here. You ever feel like something's off in the world right now? Like there's this heaviness, this spiritual fog that no one's really talking about. Everyone feel. Let's be real, you feel it too. You wake up in the morning and you check your phone before you even breathe. You're surrounded by images, distractions, temptations, and they don't just look harmless. Some of them even feel good. But underneath, they carry something darker, subtle. And every time you click, scroll, follow, or compromise, not by ink, not by technology, but by a slow erosion of your soul, that's the real mark of the beast. It's not about some chip they'll force into your skin. It's not science fiction. It's not a movie plot. It's spiritual. It's psychological. And it's already begun. You think the mark will be obvious? No. Comfortable. Popular. Profitable. The devil doesn't come wearing horns anymore. He comes through your algorithm. He comes in the form of choices. In small trades, your values for attention, your calling for validation, your integrity for convenience. And listen, I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to wake you up, because the enemy isn't going to knock on your door and announce himself. He's already inside, whispering, numbing, seducing. You think you're free because no one's forcing you into a system. But what if the system already owns you? What if your heart's already bowing to it? Quietly, daily. You were made for something higher than this. You were called to walk with power. You were designed to carry light in this dark age. But the real danger isn't persecution. It's compromise. It's that slow drift. 1 inch off course every day, until you're miles from who you were born to be. And here's the gut punch. The mark of the beast isn't just about them. It's about you. What are you letting mark you? Every time you choose fear over faith, comfort over courage, lust over love, you're either being conformed or transformed. But you can stop it. You can turn around. You can say no to the mark and yes to the mission. That's why this matters. That's why you're still breathing. You've still got a choice. And it's time to make it. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you sat still, without noise, without a screen, without trying to escape? Because the truth is, distraction has become the new idol. We worship it. We run to it. We numb with it. And we don't even see it happening. That's the spiritual deception. That's how the beast marks you. Not just on your skin, but on your attention, on your affections, on your identity. You think the enemy comes to destroy your life all at once. No, he's patient. He doesn't need to wreck your world. He just needs to keep you distracted enough to never step into your purpose. He doesn't have to convince you there's no God. He just needs to convince you he's not urgent, not relevant, not worth your focus right now. Maybe later. That's the devil's lullaby. And here's the hardest part to swallow. Most of us don't need to be tempted with evil. We're already sedated by comfort. The Netflix binges, the late night scrolling, the aimless relationships, the mindless pleasure that leaves you emptier than before. This generation isn't dying from persecution. It's drowning in passivity. And passivity is exactly what the enemy wants, because a passive man can't lead. A passive man won't protect. A passive man won't fight for his soul. But here's the breakthrough. God is not calling you to be perfect. He's not calling you to have all the answers. He's calling you to wake up, to open your eyes, to stop chasing smoke and start standing on rock. Because when you get still, when you get honest, when you get broken enough to cry out, that's when he moves. That's when the deception breaks. That's when your heart becomes dangerous again. So if you're watching this, it's not by accident. This message isn't entertainment. It's an alarm. And alarms don't coddle you. They confront you. So let this be the one that breaks the cycle. Let this be the moment you stop running and start returning. Because the time is short. And your soul is worth everything. You ever wonder why you're still here? Why? After all the mess you've survived, the breakdowns, the heartbreaks, the addictions, the nights you didn't think you'd wake up, you're still breathing. It's not random. You are here because you are chosen. Not perfect. Not polished. But chosen. And that's more powerful than you realize. Because when God chooses someone, he doesn't start with strength. He starts with surrender. He starts with pain. With emptiness. With men who are at the end of themselves. That's where the mission begins. Not when you've got your act together, but when you finally admit you don't. And listen closely. That pain you've been dragging around like a chain. That story you've been too ashamed to tell. That might just be the exact thing God wants to use. The enemy told you that disqualified you. But God says that marks you. That anoints you. God doesn't use the strongest. He uses the surrendered. He doesn't call the equipped. He equips the called. Most of the world is asleep. Spiritually sedated, emotionally numb, chasing likes, chasing lust, chasing validation they'll never get. But if you're here, if you're listening, if something in your spirit is aching while I speak, it means your soul is waking up. It means the veil is lifting. And that's terrifying, but it's holy. Because the moment you start to see truth, everything fake starts to fall apart. You can't unsee it. That's the beginning of your calling. The moment you feel that disconnect, when the old life stops fitting you, when the fake crowd doesn't satisfy, when the cheap highs leave you feeling sick, that's when you know you're being called out. Set apart. God doesn't let his chosen ones stay comfortable in compromise. He pulls them out. And it hurts. But it heals. So if your soul is restless, if your heart's been breaking quietly in the night, You're not broken, brother. You're being called. You're being prepared. You are not who the world says you are, who he says you are. And no amount of sin, shame, or failure can cancel that. You were made for more. And now it's time to stop running from it. There comes a point in every man's life when the silence gets louder than the noise, when the old tricks don't work anymore. The fake laughs feel fake. The parties feel empty. The relationships feel hollow. You can be surrounded by people and still feel like you're dying inside. That's not burnout. That's the call of God. Knocking, not on your door, but on your soul. But here's the tragedy: most men ignore it. They drown it out with noise. They silence it with pleasure. They numb it with porn, with endless scrolling, with casual sex, with fake friendships and artificial approval. The world says, be strong, man up, don't feel. But God, he says, break, kneel, return to me. Because here's what the devil doesn't want you to realize: your pain is a gift. Your emptiness is the altar. The place where God meets you is not in your strength. It's in your surrender. That ache in your chest, that's not weakness. That's the divine longing to come home. That's the cry of a soul made for eternity, sick of living for the temporary. And brother, if you've made mistakes, welcome to the club. So have I. So has every man God ever used. David was an adulterer. Peter denied Christ 3 times. But they all had one thing in common. They came back. They fell on their face and said, God, I'm done pretending. I need you. And God said, finally, now I can use you. The enemy's greatest lie is that it's too late, that you've gone too far, that your calling expired. But the truth is, God's calling isn't based on your past. It's based on his purpose. And his purpose hasn't changed. Your story isn't over. In fact, this could be your chapter 1. So what's it going to take? Another broken relationship, another year of running, another hit to your soul that leaves you feeling more numb than alive. Are you going to answer the knock? Because he's not calling you to religion. He's not calling you to fake perfection. He's calling you back to purpose, to identity, to wholeness, to him. You can fake it for the world, but your soul knows the truth. And it's time to stop faking. There's a reason the enemy attacks your mind first. Because if he can steal your clarity, he can confuse your calling. He knows he can't destroy what God has ordained, but he can distract you from walking in it. That's why your thoughts feel like a battlefield. That's why you wake up with anxiety for no reason. That's why you sabotage good things, push people away, or ghost opportunities that once meant everything to you. It's not because you're lazy. It's not because you're broken. It's because you're under spiritual assault. And the most dangerous part, you've gotten used to it. The shame, the self-doubt, the intrusive thoughts. They've become part of your inner dialogue. But none of that belongs to you. That's not your voice. That's not your identity. That's not who you are. And deep down, you know it. That's why every time you try to move forward, something inside you stirs. That fire you keep trying to put out, it keeps reigniting. You were never made for average. That's why settling hurts so much. That's why mediocrity burns your chest like acid. You weren't born to blend in. You were born to break chains. But here's the key, you've got to fight back. Not with your fists. With your mind, your prayers, your discipline. You've got to reclaim your thoughts. You've got to stand up and say, I'm not who the world says I am. I'm not who the enemy calls me. I am who God says I am. And I am coming home to that truth. It won't happen overnight. The battlefield of your mind won't be won in a day. But it can begin today. Every time you speak truth, every time you reject a lie, every time you show up when it would have been easier to quit, you're tearing down the fortress the enemy built inside your head. God's plan for you isn't buried. It's not lost. It's waiting. Waiting for you to silence the chaos, lean into His voice, step just one in faith. Because when your mind changes, your life changes. And maybe, just maybe, that's the miracle the enemy fears the most. There is one final sign, and it may be the most misunderstood. The chosen don't just survive pain. They transform through it. They're not just marked by what they've escaped, but by what they've endured with faith still intact. You want to know who the chosen are? They're the ones who walk through the valley of the shadow of death and still whisper, God is with me. A pain has a way of carving into the soul. It strips away the noise, the ego. It reveals what's real. It exposes the foundation. And for the chosen, that foundation isn't status, isn't relationships, isn't even self-confidence. It's God. Nothing more, nothing less. You'll know you're chosen when the very thing that was meant to destroy you becomes the very place you found Him. You see, being set apart isn't about always standing tall. It's about learning to kneel in moments of weakness and knowing you're not alone there. The furnace of affliction isn't a punishment. For the chosen, it's a divine meeting place. Some of you have scars that still bleed. Some of you have questions God hasn't answered yet. But don't you dare believe the lie that He's abandoned you. The silence isn't absence. It's preparation. Your heartbreak wasn't pointless. Your loss wasn't random. Your isolation wasn't a mistake. This is where destinies are formed in fire, in shadows, in unanswered prayer. The chosen don't skip this. They wrestle, they cry, but they don't quit because they know, even if the world doesn't understand their journey, God does, and that's enough. You want confirmation that you're chosen? Look at the storms you've survived. Look at the betrayals you've endured. Look at the nights you should have given up, but didn't. You were being forged, not forgotten. So stand in that truth. Hold your ground, not in arrogance, but in assurance. The pain didn't come to destroy you. It came to reveal who you really are. And if you're still here, it means God's not done with you yet. My friend, if this message hit you deep, if something stirred in your soul, like a quiet voice reminding you, you're not alone, then hear this. You didn't click on this video by accident. You were meant to hear this today. There's a war out there for your identity, your purpose, your soul. This right here is your moment to take a stand. Not just passively watching another video, but declaring, I choose to rise. I choose to heal. I choose to follow the call. And if you felt that, if this resonated, I need you to do one thing. No for. Like this video, not for me, but because it tells the algorithm this message matters, comment below. Share your battle, your breakthrough, your testimony. Let someone scrolling through the comments see your story and find hope in it. Share this with someone who's drowning in silence. Someone you know needs to hear this truth. And subscribe. Because this isn't a one-time message. This is a movement, a call to the chosen, a space for the broken and the brave. You're not invisible. You're not forgotten. This fire you feel inside right now, it's not emotion. It's destiny waking up. So rise up. You've been called. You've been set apart. And your story, it's just getting started. God bless you. I'll see you in the next one.